Lesson 46, Error Handling. In this lesson, we're going to talk about how to make your applications more robust. I always say that when I'm creating a macro, my whole goal is to be able to get the macro simple enough that someone else can run my reports while I take a week's vacation. So we're going to talk about things like on-error go-to, on-error resume next, on-error go to 0, and then the ERR object variable, and why we might want to cause some errors on purpose. Let's get started. Okay, so I have a simple little macro here that goes out. It opens last night's invoice file and does a whole bunch of processing, saves the reports out in a new spot. And I want to have someone else run this. So I'm on vacation, I'm down on the beach, really hoping that I don't get a call from work today. And whoever's back in the office comes in, they click the report, and we get a runtime error 1004. As you start to do more and more with VBA, you'll find that 1004 can mean like a dozen different things. When the voicemail is, "Hey Bill, it blew up with an error 1004, that is not helpful at all. If they do catch me on the phone, I want them to click debug, and that shows me the line that's in yellow. And now at this point, they read me the line that's in yellow, and I say, okay, run that line again, F8, and now ask them to read you the description, and you can start to figure out what's going on. But, I would really like to prevent this whole thing from happening in the first place. I don't want them to call me. It's probably that the IT department had some problems last night, didn't get to write this file out. So right before this line of code, the line of code that is the pain point, the line of code that can go wrong, I'm going to put an error handler in there, and I'm going to say on error go to file not there. And then right after that line of code, I want to turn off the first error handler. And so this is very confusing. You just have to accept it. On error go to 0. Where is 0? I don't know. I have no clue why they say 0 there. This is really saying, hey, turn off any error handlers that we have up to this point. Go back to the normal default state. So go to 0. What the heck does that mean? Okay, so file not there. Well, that's a new section of code that we're going to create. We usually create it down at the bottom of the macro. So right here's the end of the macro. I'm going to do a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to say exit sub. That way, the program will end, and then I have my error handlers down here. File not there with a colon. That says this section of code is what should happen when the file is not there, and I'm going to build a little message box. It appears the file, what's the name of the file? Daily orders. Excel file has not been created. Please call George in the IT department at extension 1234 to see if the nightly processing is finished. Now, if there was something that I could do to recover down here, in this case there's nothing, we might want to say resume next. Resume next will take it back to the next line of code, but that's not an option here. We just simply want to allow the program to end, and so it's going to hit the end sub, and we should be fine. So let's test this out. So we say create invoice report. All right, much more friendly message appears. Tells them exactly what to do, particularly calling someone else instead of calling me, which allows me to stay out on the beach and not have to worry about what's going on back at work. So that's the simple error handler. Now, there's a couple of other things to know with the error handling. Sometimes Excel is just very silly when it causes these errors. You'll see here later on in this code, I'm about to save a file, and before I save the file, I want to delete yesterday's version of that file, and so I want to delete this file. Well, it's very strange that if you try and delete a file that's not there, Microsoft throws up an error. They says, hey, So no, we can't do it. We went to delete it, but it's not there, and it stops with an error. Well, that's a silly error to throw up because look, I'm trying to delete the file. If it's not there, that's a good thing. So in this one case, we want to use something called onError resume next. OnError resume next, and then right after that, onError go to 0. All right, so this is me saying, hey, look, I know that this next line of code may cause an error, and if it causes an error, that's okay. That means the file's not there. And that's actually what I'm trying to do. So don't bother to alert the person running the macro that it's not there. Just go on. Now, don't be tempted to just put onError resume next at the beginning of your code and let it run. Sometimes they can't resume, and then this macro will end abruptly. And whatever macro happen to call this macro will pick up at the next line. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. All right, so those are the common uses of error handling. We set up a little section called file not there, and then after that line of code that might cause the error, go back to 0. Sometimes we know that we might get an error, onError resume next, and then onError go to 0. Another one that happens a few times, and this next one is kind of strange because we're actually going to force an error. We're going to encourage an error, let's say. Let's say that we had a whole bunch of worksheets and we want to see if the Friday worksheet is there. There's a couple of ways to program this. We can say Friday found is equal to false, and then say for each WS in active workbook.worksheets, if ws.name is equal to Friday, then Friday found is equal to true. We can exit for end if, and then next WS. And then we have some code down here that says if not Friday found, then message box, the required Friday worksheet is missing. Exit sub, end if. All right. So this works. This is perfectly valid. But if you think about it, if you happen to have, let's say, 50 worksheets, it's going to have to loop through and check all 50 worksheets, which is a relative hassle. There's a better way to go, and it pretty much accepts the fact that we may be causing an error on purpose. So is it there too? I'm going to use an object variable called ERR. I'm going to say error.clear, and then I'm simply going to reference the Friday worksheet. So we'll say onError resume next, x equals worksheets Friday dot cells 1, 1, and then onError go to 0. All right. So as we run this code, if Friday's there, this line is going to work and there'll be nothing to worry about. But if Friday's not there, it's going to throw a 1004 error. Well, rather than reporting anything, we just said onError resume next, and then what we can do here is check and see the status of the ERR variable. If ERR.number is equal to 0, then Friday is there, everything is cool. Else, Friday's not there, and we run this code from before. So message box, the required Friday worksheet is missing. So this seems a little strange here. We want to see if Friday's there, and so we just go ask Excel to get something from it, and it's going to throw an error. But we've handled the error beforehand with onError resume next, and then we check to see ERR.number. Now we want to clear this out so that way, in case there were any previous errors, error.clear will get us back to 0. So let's set up a watch window on ERR, and I want to expand this once it becomes live. You see that ERR has a description, a number. So we cruise down through here. This is the line that's going to create an error. We don't have a Friday worksheet. So there's my description, subscript out of range. There's my number, 9. And so now, oh, that's bad. Okay, So the on error go to 0 cleared the error out. I actually need to cut that and paste it down here beneath the error check. So, all right, let's stop and run again. Press F8. So here's our error. It starts out as 0. On error resume next. And then we actually try and refer to the Friday worksheet. We get there, and then immediately afterwards, before you do anything else, you want to check to see if error number is equal to 0. And since it's not, we go into the else and we tell them the Friday worksheet is missing. All right. So when I was a young programmer, I tried to avoid errors like the plague. And when I first saw this approach, I said, wow, we're actually we're willing to accept an error. We're willing to actually cause an error. But it's a faster way to go because you don't have to loop through all 50 sheets looking for one called Friday. Just say, hey, let's refer to it and see if it throws an error or not. So we're using a built-in variable there, object variable called ERR. It's also possible, in your error handler to refer to error.number and error.description. In case you get something that's unexpected, you could build a bit more friendly error handler. Okay, well, hopefully, if you use some of the concepts in this lesson, you're going to be able to write macros that will allow you to go on vacation and not get calls from work, or at least have them call someone else first before they really determine if it's a problem or not. Hope you found this lesson helpful. Thanks for watching.
Looking to advance your career by acquiring new skills? Tired of expensive off-site training programs? Wish you could learn from the best instructors in the industry? Look no further than Live Lessons. Self-paced, personal video instruction by the world's leading technology publishers. Each live lesson comes with a DVD featuring 3 to 4 hours of instructor-led classroom training, sample program code that allows you to work along with your personal instructor, and an example-rich study guide. Live lessons allow you to watch the entire course from start to finish, or navigate directly to any of the individual lessons. You'll literally watch over the shoulder of your instructor as he shows you how to build state-of-the-art applications. Live Lessons, the power of the world's leading technology experts at your fingertips. To learn more, visit mylivelessons.com today.